Hello everyone, we are going to now go through Jericho Beach Kayak's marketing data. So just as a reference, if you remember last year we had the strategy, marketing calendar slide here, and for the most part in most of these months, JBK just needed help from myself, for example, boosting posts. And then although that was the case, I'm still going to try my best to give some scoop on most of the channels. And so without further ado then, let's get into it. So JBK's website visitors then, 21, 22, 23. If you've seen the Coast Outdoors video first, I recommend you do that because this will make this one a little bit interesting. Is that you'll see that 22 is 12% down, and then in 2023 it's 18% up, and that meant that they were 3% higher than 2021, and like that is just, that's crazy. I don't know what to do with that. That's just the way it is. So where did they find them then? So when you look at the spread, you have a healthy organic spread as per usual. There is actually a large portion of direct there. That maybe suggests that organically perhaps Jericho has some work to do. And we do this year, thankfully, we have got internet exposure. It's an outsourced company for SEO. We're also applying that to Jericho too. But at any rate, you had 51,100 people last year, and then you had 64,300 people this year. And then you can see on the right-hand side the relative increase or decrease in acquisition of customers. The big movers was social, was up 78%, that's massive, and then email was up 74%, that's a big chunk, as is referral. Paid search, you might see, why is it only 194? I thought we didn't do paid search ads. That is an anomaly that I haven't yet worked out for Jericho, so I won't be able to cover that in this presentation. I'll get back to you. Okay, so front-end generators. Now, similar to Coast Outdoors, I'm just going to talk about the e-commerce figures and what we can glean from Google Analytics. When it comes to all the reports that include front-end and back-end, everything, obviously you're going to have to reference EJ's presentations. And the same thing applies to DCK as well. Now, Bob, if you're listening to this video and you notice the difference between JBK and DCK and Kate's, you'll notice that we have information that we can glean with regards to revenue. When we do this, it gives us a clearer picture of what was effective and what was not, and then we move our efforts around accordingly. You wanted me to show you why we should spend $500 one-off payment for DCK and potentially for Kate's. Is because you get to see more information on a revenue basis. So just compare this presentation to DCK's and Kate's. I think it'll be apparent that we should set these websites up so that we can see revenue from a Google Analytics perspective. But anyway, let's go into it then. You'll see actually the highest hitting piece for Jericho is actually referral. This is different to all the other companies actually. Now, when you look at referral and overall users, these are the splits then. Kate's has, and this is overall users. Kate has the majority of their customers coming through via referral. DCK, I guess you might think of it as more like the mothership of the three locations. And then the top referrer for both JBK and Kate's happens to be DCK, just as a side note. And then how much each location leans on the referrals for customer acquisition, you have a higher percentage of it on Kate's than you do with Jericho. So going back then to the revenue with referrals, so you have 139,217. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's deep Cove Kayak, because if you look at it and you look in the information here, you'll see that 124,529 is down to the Flybook. And if you think about it, you can't attribute the checkout system to the checkout. You have to, the referral can't have come from Flybook, because you have to force someone onto Flybook's system. And you might have an argument to say, okay, well, what about all the emails that we send inside of Flybook to our customers? Don't they take them to the website? Well, in my research, it was literally only about $5,000 to $10,000 that I could see in the analytics with regards to Flybook emails sending people to Flybook. When we reached out to a Flybook data analysis, so the quote I found in the email that they replied is, if they click from a URL somewhere else, say Facebook, it should show the referral as go.theflybook.com. So that figure there then represents, at least I think, and I'll go forward a couple of slides, a combination of Meta ads, Facebook organic, and DCK's Flybook. One thing I'll add, we are evolving this system next year, so we'll have a better idea of attribution. But here are some of the things that we can say with regards to revenue generated via referrals elsewhere. 5,900 from DCK, 2,400, that was the link tree there, and then 2,400 for Jericho Sailing Center. So let's move down to organic search. I have a few points I want to make. So if you look on the right hand side, you'll see the top queries that Jericho got all year, and the majority of people actually search Jericho Beach Kayak, Jericho Kayak. You know, they already know that the location exists. And then so that's significant, because if you move on to the terms that they, you know, where someone might not know, so kayaking Vancouver, kayak lessons Vancouver, those searches are a lot lower relative to, say, Deep Cove Kayak, when they have the same terms. You know, you're 3 times more likely to find or click on the DCK website, say for kayaking Vancouver. And the same thing, kayak Vancouver, you sort of get the picture. And then the relative size of the locations then, so you have, you know, 18,794 that people that just typed in Deep Cove Kayak, I know it. And then on the left-hand side, Jericho, you have 2,537 that they put in Jericho Beach Kayak. And I share this because strategically, that's why we put Jericho's content on the website. We've also done our effort to put Jericho first in front of Kate's. To, I guess, varying degrees of success, though. So SEO upgrades are pending, like I mentioned earlier. So I think that's going to help with regards to people searching for kayak lessons or kayak rentals. Vancouver, is it Water Adventure, the name of the company? Like, I think significantly that should be the battle that Jericho should try to win organically. But yeah, we are motioning through that work currently. So let's move down there. Direct. I'm not going to talk about direct because people just knew Jericho, and the way that we affect direct is by other means. So let's look at email then. So they generated 17,993 through MailChimp emails. And yeah, 14,248 was via the JBK team. And we can attribute 3,745 to the general newsletter, which doesn't sound like much when we look at it like this. But yeah, 79% of it, JBK team controlled themselves. Okay, cool. So socials then, last year, 5,000 was made with those efforts. And then this year, 6,769. Now, I have to give a big bunch of credit for what they have achieved organically, actually. And especially when it comes to link clicks, you'll see then that the link clicks there, 703. If you watch the previous video, that's actually more than Coast Outdoors' link clicks. It's significant, the amount of people that they were able to bring to the website relative to the size of their platform or relative to the size of their following. So you'll see then link clicks on the paid was 12,789. And then on the left hand side, everything is organic. So 703 from Instagram, 462 from Facebook. And yeah, again, moral of the story always, if you pay for it, then you get a better reach and you get more people coming your way via link clicks. Thanks to this guy, a-hole. So Jericho actually spent $12,196 on Meta. Now, they only spent that. They didn't have Google Ads this year. Google Ads is way more expensive than I originally estimated it would be to get results. So it made more sense. You had bigger bang for your buck to do that ad spend on Meta. And then we can prove that, 6,769 was made. And then so that would be a net of 5,427. And then you say, Buzz, you're driving this company into the ground with those stupid ass figures. Privacy, we know this now. So what you're looking at down here, it's not an exact science with regards to lining up like summer camps or hiring or rental tours or whatever, but you get an idea of when certain ads. So this $12,196, there was online trip plans, there was digital courses in black on the left hand side there. And then there was a couple of hiring posts that went out, some heavy hitters on the summer camps. And then, you see in July through August and September, it was really the summer tours that essentially we tried to create a unique selling proposition. And we try to help the rentals by showing their best side. We even made some videos. We put some stuff on YouTube as well. But yeah, and it's worth also mentioning that the ads that we ran throughout the whole year for Jericho reached almost 750,000 people, which is insane. And then 12,800 people went through off those distracting platforms and onto Jericho's website. It's also worth mentioning here that the impressions came to 3.1 million for Jericho. Like, there was a significant showing of rentals, summer camps, and tours for Jericho. And I guess that's significant because Kate's Park Paddling Center, in contrast, did not have this support. So the good thing about looking at this data is that you have a comparative look at stuff. And I have an Excel document that I'm going to be able to share so that we can really look at what channels were most effective. And then when we look at 2024, we can decide, okay, cool, do we want to spend that much money again for Kate's? Do we want to spend it for Jericho? Where is it best moved around? But you will get access to that Excel document before we reach the strategy meeting, and we might reference it during the strategy meeting. Okay, I want to share this case study because I think it's quite interesting for us. Like, at the start of the year, especially with Manat and Pam, we were essentially in agreement that if you think something's going to work, let's try it. And then once we've tried it, we will find out if it was effective. And if it was effective, we will take that strategy and run with it. And so you have varying degrees of strategies going on here. And so on the left-hand side, you have Jericho, which they sort of operate with their own autonomous strategy when it comes to this marketing stuff. And they hammer people with calls to action, high percentage of CTAs on their grid, text to show it, and then coast with a mid percentage, so you see like text is appearing, but it's not appearing as frequently, and it's not covering the entire visual space on Instagram. And then you have low calls to action or just a visual grid from DCK. Link clicks, then you can just compare each other. Glance at the bottom, you have the most link clicks, 774 on the right, and then the second place would be 703, and then you have 217 for coast. If you scale if you scale the followers up theoretically and you make them all the same, theoretically the numbers might look like this: 2,200, 442, 774. But a quick caveat, I don't think it's fair to compare Coast Outdoors to the rental locations, because you know, when you're trying to optimize for a completely different product, you're asking them to spend a lot more money. That's like trying to compare apples to oranges. But I think like the takeaway might be that the strategies probably need to be maybe somewhere in between / maybe the midpoint, which might look something like Coast Outdoors / Jericho's strategy. But then we can debate that if you like during the strategy meeting. But I thought I'd share that as a case study. Okay, so finally, and I'm coming to the conclusion of this, and I have a bit of a goofy slide. I know the last one was pretty goofy, but here we go. Here's a little bit more. So remember that Jericho relative to Kate's had the most coverage online, and it had the paid ad strategy, which was actually different to DCK as well. But it's interesting because if you consider, and here's where my goofy slides will come in, that let's pretend that you have 4 companies and they all sell the same thing. And then so what essentially we were doing with Jericho is showing that there's, you know, an apple that you can have here on a display ad, and we showed them the apples on here, and we put the apples on social media, and we spent a lot of money there and on the emails. But when the customer hits the actual searching process and they're getting close to purchasing, they end up on Google searching for apples, and what they get on the left hand side is essentially a bunch of businesses selling the same stuff. And then obviously you go to reviews, and then before you know it, you know, DCK is taking some of the you know, rentals that maybe would have been partially earned via the ad spend that Jericho did, you know, just to give you an idea. So to push this goofy example, I guess what you would do is try to put a USP in there, which is a unique selling proposition. And then, so, you know, if you said that, hey, it's actually oranges that you have, and that's a bespoke thing that you have at Jericho, i.e. like sunsets, then you would just put a bunch of those things into the ad so that when they hit Google, the search singles out Jericho and it doesn't bring in all the competitors. That was a goofy little sideshow thing about unique selling propositions when it comes to trying to come up with a strategy to sell more rentals, sunset tours, lessons, whatever. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I'll see you in the next video.